In my hands right here is the brand new Callaway Apex Ai150 iron, an iron according to Callaway that they are targeting players of a high single figure handicap. So as an 11 handicap golfer with an average swing speed, I'm just outside their target demographic. But I'm really keen to see how it performs in my hands because I'm desperate to get down to single figures, and I'm keen to see if this type of iron could be the sort of club that I could grow into over the next couple of years. So what we're going to do today is we're going to hit some shots on TrackMan, talk you through all of the data. We'll also tell you a little bit about the technology and also the looks of this iron, showing you some up close shots as well, and I'll give you my final conclusions on who this iron could be for and whether or not golfers just like me should maybe put it on their test list, particularly if that handicap is coming down. Let's get stuck in. Right, we're going to dive straight in and start hitting some shots with the Callaway Apex Ai150. What we'll do is we'll start to collect our data set, we'll talk a little bit about the numbers that we're seeing, some of the feels and some of the sounds, and then we'll break away and we'll have a little sort of minute or two just talking about the features of this iron, the technology in it. Then we'll come back and just hit a few more shots with that in the back of our minds before going home, dissecting all the data, coming up with some objective analysis, and I'll also then offer you my final thoughts on who might want to look at this iron and what type of golfer and what you might be considering it against at the end of the video. So let's start by hitting some shots. There we go, just took me 3 to finally be able to hit one that was not absolutely honking. First impression in terms of feel and sound, sounds very quiet and very dull in terms of its acoustics, but those numbers that we've just got out of it first out of the gate must be not great delivery on my part. Yeah, my angle of attack and things isn't that great, but 107 of ball speed, 155.8 of carry, spinning at 4221, that is low for me. Launching at 22.9, 95 feet of peak height, and 47.4 of land angle. There's the golf shot. That is what I wanted to hit, and that is what I wanted to see. 110 of ball speed, 158 of carry. Spin is still low despite how good that strike is. You can see it's a centered strike. You can see that in terms of my attack angle, I'm 3.6 down, 3.6 inches after, 4 degrees down, spinning at 4552, launching at 21 degrees, peak height 92 feet, landing at 47. Now, it's still got a load of stopping power because of the height, but not as much as some other players' distance irons in my hand or other irons in my hand that I've tested in this category more recently too. But that felt fantastic. That's the one thing I will say about it. It felt great on that occasion there. Everything about that was good. I do love the launch window though. It feels like it wants to just launch a little bit lower and still get up into the air, which normally you would associate with a high spin rate. Again, look at that one there, 109 mile/hour ball speed. You can see the strike's really good for me. It's carried 160, which is an absolute rocket, but it's got 4.1 of spin on it. 20.7 of launch angle, peak height 88 feet, landing at 45. The last two have been hit absolutely flush by me, as good as I can hit an iron at the moment. And in that regard, I'm surprised how low those spin rates are. And then that feels absolutely phenomenal. I can't hit irons better than that, I really can't. My club head speed's maybe a mile an hour down from my fastest where I'm a few shots in today, but you're seeing 112 mile an hour ball speed out of a flush centered strike that's carrying 162 because of how low that spin is again at 4683. That would be a low spinning shot for me with other irons that I'm testing when we're trying to get to the 5,000 and the drop off is sort of 4.7. But I do love the launch, I do love the peak height, 99 feet 10 inches, love the land angle, love my delivery. Would just like to see more spin. Again, hitting it as good as I'm hitting irons. It's probably the best I've hit irons on a video in this room consistently for months. 110 mile/hour ball speed, 159 of carry, 4548 of spin, still low, launching at 20.6. Peak height 90 feet, landing at 46 degrees. That's a great one to finish this set on. Maybe just a tiny little bit of an open face relative to that path. It might be just a little push down the left. Slightly heely strike as well, 109 of ball speed, 156.5 of carry, 4.6 of spin, launching at 20.6, 87.5 feet of peak height, landing at 48 degrees. Well, let's take a little break there, just give me a chance to have a little rest, get a bit of fluid in me. We'll tell you a little bit about the tech, and the looks of these irons, show you some comparisons, then we'll get back to hitting a few more shots and see if we can get that spin number to creep up a little bit. Now, while we take a break from hitting shots, just to give me a chance to catch my breath and have a little rest, let's tell you a little bit about the technology and the looks of this iron. Now, starting with the technology, there's two key things that stood out to me when I was doing my research on the Ai150 iron. First of all, we get two different materials in terms of the face construction. We get one material for the 3 iron to the 7 iron, and we get another material for the 8 iron to the wedge. Now, Callaway have told us that we won't notice that. It's completely seamless in terms of how these irons look. But the reason why they've done that is to try and make sure that we get the maximum forgiveness and the maximum retention of ball speed and distance and the help where we need it most. There's a different material for those longer irons, and then a little bit more feedback, a little bit more feel on those 8 iron to wedge where we maybe don't need as much help. The second key thing to call out is they have introduced the AI10X face into this iron, and what that means, if you're not familiar with the technology, is we've got a number of sort of different sweet spots on the face by using AI technology, thousands of data points, different algorithms to work out where we mishit it, and they've put the technology where we need that little bit of help. Again, that's all about maintaining ball speeds, maintaining distances, and that forgiveness on those off-center hits. So in terms of the looks with the Callaway Apex Ai150, we do get that high kind of shine chrome finish on the face of this iron, and if you are someone that likes those type of looking irons, you will absolutely love how this one looks, because we've got a nice player's preferred shorter blade length, slightly more teardrop in terms of its design, and it does look really stunning as we're sat here in the bay with the twilight of the sun going down around us. I always worry when you get these kind of high shine irons, high gloss irons, when you start to move up to sort of 9 irons and pitching wedge, do you get a bit of reflection off of the sun when we do get it for a few days here in the UK? And that's maybe a reason I don't normally game this type of iron, but I do think this looks really, really stunning down at address, particularly when it's framing the golf ball. I do think there is a small amount of offset, but because of that high gloss and the way the light's reflecting off of it, I don't think it stands out as much as it does on a more brushed chrome finish. So I've recently just filmed the review of the Ping i240. I'm filming it on the same day, and putting them side by side against each other, it definitely looks like there's more offset on the Ping with that brushed chrome finish. And where that does benefit you, I do think on the flip side that when it comes to top lines, I think that kind of high shine gloss does make the top line look a little bit thicker than perhaps it is. And that's where maybe the brushed chrome comes into its own, because to me it does look like this is slightly thicker, more player's distance sort of thickness of top line to this iron, which again to me as the 11 handicap golfer inspires oodles of confidence. But again, I'm not sure if the better player will want to see that much thickness of top line to it when they've got this iron down at address. When you do flip it over and look at the sole design, because of that, again, high gloss finish, it does look like there's a little bit of curvature to it, and it does look like it is really nice and rounded and gives you some confidence there will be some good turf interaction here. And when you flip the iron over at the back, we've got very typical design for what we've seen for the rest of that Callaway Apex Ai range, and it will therefore blend really, really nicely in your bag if you're also looking at combo setting. But overall, a really stunning looking iron in a really lovely looking package. Let's get back to hitting a few more shots with it and see if we can get that spin number to creep up and just give us the confidence that this iron delivers the whole package of what I need it to. I feel like I've just timed that absolutely perfectly, not tried to rush it at all, and it's just delivered a really strong high flight. 110 of ball speed, 156.5 of carry. We've got 4.9 of spin. That's still not reached 5,000, but that certainly feels like the best one that we've got off a slightly low heeled strike. Launching at 22 degrees, peak height 95 feet, and landing at 48. Wow, that's a golf shot. Just feel like I've just timed the last two as good as I can. 113 of ball speed, 166 of carry. Look, I don't hit 7 irons 166. I shouldn't hit 7 irons 166, and it's because we've got that low spin again of 4.3 off of a really flush strike. But I love the ball flight window. That 21 of launch, that 98 feet of peak height, that 47 of land angle off of that strike is good. I'm loving how I'm swinging the golf club tonight. I really am. I'm loving the ball flight of this. Look at that for me. If you've watched my channel for some time, you don't get many where the strike location looks there on the face. 112 of ball speed, 163 of carry. They're rockets when they're out the middle because of that low spin. Really is. 162.3 is outrageous. Of course, I'd love for my ego to say that I'm hitting it that far, but the reality is that is just all down to that low spin. But again, that ball flight, 19.4 of launch angle, 87 feet of peak height, 45 of land angle, all good numbers. It's flushed again. These last few have been absolutely outrageous for distance. Just taking that break has just allowed me to get my sequencing and my tempo perfect with this iron. 114 of ball speed, 165 total carry, 179 total, 4.6 of spin, launching at 19.7, 92 feet of peak height, 46 degrees of land angle. Now, if you're watching this, and this is the review that you're watching on these irons, two things we need to remember. I said this earlier in the video, Callaway market these irons for high single figure players. I'm a 10.6 handicap, it's the lowest I've ever been, and you're seeing the best of my iron striking tonight. I don't normally strike my irons this good, it's the weakness of my game. So maybe the player they're marking it to by nature would have a little bit more speed than me, because there is that correlation between handicap and speed. And if you are maybe swinging your 7 iron at 85 mile an hour and delivering it with the same sort of quality of strike or better because you're a better player, you might get the spin. So don't be put off by them. But if you are maybe the 11-12 handicapper like me, thinking maybe getting a set of these and growing into them, my concern would be that if you haven't got the speed, that maybe you just don't get the spin out of them. But if you need more distance, they're great for that. They really are great for that, because they're up there with the Ping i530 for me in terms of just being low spin, absolute power rockets. Right, come on, I'm gonna hit one more. I just wanna finish with a really good one. Like that. Perfect little draw. Ball speeds are great on this iron. That is one thing I will say. Ball speeds are fast. Distances are huge, 163.6. Spin rate is coming up a little bit, but just not where I want it to be at 4.617. Launch angle 19.5, peak height 90 feet, landing at 46 degrees. I think we've captured enough data. I think we're starting to see a pattern with this iron, but let's go home. Let's objectively dissect all of that TrackMan data. I hit a few shots off camera with my own Mizuno JPX 923 forged, which will show you how I was swinging it on the day for comparison purposes, and then we'll get some conclusions on who this iron might be for and what we might want to see out of it if you're going into a custom fitting. Right, time to deep dive and objectively analyze all of that TrackMan data. Now, I always like to benchmark with my own iron, the Mizuno JPX 923 forged, because that allows me just to see how I'm swinging on the day and make some better objective analysis of the golf club that we're comparing. So I'm going to show you that data on screen as well. Now, starting on the left hand side, what you'll see is that the Callaway Apex Ai150 delivered some really good speeds, and they were right where I want them to be, because any time that I'm averaging 110 mile an hour ball speed is very, very good for me. Now, as you can see, that lined up really, really nicely with my own iron. You'll also see that the consistency of that ball speed was very, very good too, considering the fact it's a larger data set with the Apex Ai150, and also the golf club is not yet custom fit for me. Now, in terms of my strike location on the day, you can see very consistent with both golf clubs, but a little bit more towards the heel with the Ai150 than with my own Mizuno, and that may be influencing slightly some of the numbers that we see in a minute. But what I would say is, as you saw in the bay, there were some shots that were a little bit more centered in strike, and we did see very similar performance to what we saw on some of those more heeled strikes. Now, we've spoken extensively about the spin rate. It's going to be the one key thing that comes out of this review, is just how low it is. At 4,375 RPM of spin, it's one of the lowest spinning irons that I've tested on this channel over the last couple of years, and it came in circa 900 RPM less than my own Mizuno. Now, when I'm doing my benchmarking with my own club, I normally do that shortly before I start filming, as it also allows me to warm up into it as well and just get used to my swing on the day. On this day in question, as soon as the camera stopped rolling, I went back and hit another 8 or 9 shots with my Mizuno included in this data set, just to check that nothing had changed in my swing, where I'd been testing a couple of golf clubs on the day. And as you can see, the spin rate was so much higher with my own club. It was actually higher in the second batch of shots because I was a little bit more warmer and a little bit faster with those shots as well. Now, one thing I would say though is the spin consistency of 265 RPM standard deviation was incredibly good, and the consistency of this golf club in all parameters is very, very strong. Now, I did mention that I enjoyed the ball flight with the Apex Ai150, and again, the consistency was very, very impressive. Launch angles are good, peak height strong without ballooning up too much like some irons that I've tested more recently, and land angles were just about acceptable. Just to show you that front on view of the trajectory, you can just see how it compares again to my own Mizuno. Now, carry distances were incredibly long with the Ai150, averaging 160 yards, which is an incredibly strong number for me and something I wasn't expecting out of an iron in this category. However, the comparison with my own iron does bring to life the lack of stopping power that I had with these irons due to that combination of low spin and the slightly flatter land angle, as they rolled out 15.4 yards versus 11.8 yards with my own Mizuno. And the final thing I do want to say, and this did really impress me when I saw the data, was just how consistent that shot dispersion is, considering I'm the biggest variable here as the mid-handicap golfer. There is a significant large number of shots in this data set, more so than with my own Mizuno, and the dispersion front to back, left to right is very, very similar, and something that did impress me, and that's credit again to the Callaway in this part of the video. So overall, there are loads and loads of positives with this iron, and I don't want that spin rate to detract golfers from testing this or potentially going out and buying it, and I'll explain why in a second. Now, starting with those positives, the looks of this iron will appeal to so many golfers, and it does blend in really nicely with the rest of the Callaway Apex Ai range. We've got an iron that's incredibly consistent in all of the key data parameters, and we've got an iron that I thought was very forgiving, particularly considering the category of golfer that's appealing to, because I would have no issue using this iron in terms of its forgiveness, despite the fact that I'm outside of that handicap range. Now, the asterisk that I want to put against that spin rate is that Callaway are targeting golfers of a high single figure, and I'm just outside of that handicap range. Now, given the direct correlation there is between handicap and swing speed, you could argue that I'm just a little bit too slow to use this iron and get the benefits out of it fully, like golfers in that 5 to 9 handicap range that are maybe swinging their 7-iron about 85 mile an hour would certainly get. So if you are a golfer watching this video and you are in that handicap range, or you swing your 7-iron a little bit faster than me, please don't be put off by this iron, because I think you'll see that you get all of the great benefits, and I would be raving about this iron completely if it was only 500 to 600 RPM more spin than what we saw out of it on the day, and I think you'll get that out of it, and I therefore think you will absolutely love it. If you are a golfer of my handicap range whose handicap is coming down but you just swing it at my sort of speeds, then do check out things like the Ping I240 that does have a little bit more spin, and some of the Titleist range like the Titleist T150. They also offer you some good spin rates at a similar level of consistency as this iron as well. Now, if you've got some value out of this video and you'd like to return the favor, then all you need to do is hit that thumbs up button. That lets YouTube know that golfers just like you may be interested in watching this video. Equally, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, there's a button popping up for you right now on screen. Press that and you'll be notified of all my videos as they land on YouTube every single week. Equally, if you think you may be interested in watching another one of my videos, including that Ping I240 review, there's a couple of options popping up for you right now on screen. Press one of those and you'll be taken to it straight away. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.